Your value does not depend on how much you give or how little you demand. Love is not supposed to feel like a test you keep failing. It is meant to feel like growth, like ease, like coming home. When you truly love yourself, you stop accepting the bare minimum. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. You stop handing over pieces of your peace to keep someone close. Love is not measured by how much you can endure, but by how gently you allow yourself to be treated. You no longer confuse chaos with passion or inconsistency with excitement. You learn to see stability, honesty, and respect as true markers of deep connection. You elevate the quality of your relationships because the standard you set becomes the standard others must rise to. Self-love transforms the way you communicate. Boundaries feel threatening, like doors you're afraid to close because you fear people will walk away and never return. But self-love teaches you that a closed door is not a loss. It is protection. It is wisdom. It is the act of choosing peace over chaos, clarity and dignity. As you strengthen your boundaries, the wrong people may fall away, but the right people, with gentle hands and honest intentions, will honor those boundaries instead of pushing against them. They understand that limits are not barriers to love, but pathways to a healthier one. When you cultivate self-love, your giving comes from overflow, not desperation. You offer kindness because your heart is full. You offer compassion without losing yourself. You care deeply, but you also know when to step back, when to rest, when to protect your peace. Your love becomes healthier because it is no longer tied to your sense of worth. Loving yourself affects the kind of people you allow into your life. When you lack self-love, you attract people who mirror your insecurities, take advantage of your softness, who sense your fear of abandonment, who offer crumbs and call them meals. But when you grow into your worth, your energy changes. You no longer tolerate people who want access but not commitment. You no longer entertain relationships based on guessing games, half-truths, or emotional inconsistency. Instead, you attract people who respect your time, your mind, your emotions, people who show up with intention instead of excuses. You no longer crumble when someone doesn't approve of you, nor build your identity around someone's praise. Your value is internal, not negotiated through someone else's perception. You comfort, encourage, and celebrate yourself. This emotional independence strengthens every relationship you touch because you are no longer asking others to fill a void they cannot fill. Self-love changes the way you handle conflict. Without it, conflict feels like a threat, something that might end the relationship, something that makes you panic and overcompensate. But with self-love, conflict becomes an opportunity for truth. You no longer avoid hard conversations. You approach them with clarity and calmness. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to be right. You simply need to be honest. And this honesty creates relationships built not on fear, but on trust. Ultimately, self-love is the foundation of healthy relationships. It teaches you to love from wholeness. You are already complete, worthy, enough. Someone else's presence should add to your life, not replace your life. And when you carry that truth within you, every relationship you build is rooted in mutual respect, emotional clarity, and authentic connection. You stop begging for love and begin choosing it. You stop chasing people and you begin aligning with people. You stop living in fear and you begin loving from strength. That strength draws the right people, energy, and love into your world. You cannot save others by abandoning yourself, no matter how deeply you love them or want to see them heal. There is a limit to how far you can stretch before you tear. There is a limit to how much you can pour before you run dry. And yet so many people move through life believing that their worth is tied to how much they can sacrifice, pain they can absorb, how much they can carry. They think love means rescuing those who refuse to rescue themselves. You cannot lift someone when you are collapsing inside. There is a quiet tragedy in trying to save someone who has no intention of changing. You give them your energy, time, emotional stability, nights of sleep, and days of peace. You convince yourself that if you love them a little harder, if you stand a little longer, if you forgive a little more, they will finally rise. You tell yourself your loyalty is pulling them out of darkness, but months and years pass, and you realize you are the only one pulling, trying, breaking. They continue as always because they have no reason to choose strength when you keep cushioning their weakness. When you abandon yourself for the sake of someone else, you teach them your pain is acceptable, exhaustion normal, needs secondary. You teach them you will stay even when it hurts. The longer you do that, the harder it becomes for them to respect your boundaries because you communicated you don't have any. Support strengthens a bond. Caring breaks your back. People rarely grow when you carry their weight. They grow when you step back and let them feel the reality of their choices. They grow when they are forced to confront the parts of themselves they have been avoiding. You are responsible for your own well-being. You are responsible for not losing yourself in somebody else's storm. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is allow a person to face their own consequences. Pain is a teacher. Accountability is a teacher. Life has a wisdom that your sacrifice cannot replace. There comes a moment when you realize you are pouring into someone who is not trying to hold a cup. You try to be their anchor, healer, motivation, but you end up becoming their escape, someone who makes it easier for them to stay the same. And all the while you are sinking deeper into emotional exhaustion, resentment, and silence. You cannot pull someone out of a hole if you climb into it. You cannot offer love when you have nothing left. You cannot offer guidance when your spirit is tired. You cannot offer stability when you are shaking on the inside. The stronger you are, the more you can offer. The weaker you become, the less effective your help. Saving others is not your purpose if it destroys your health, mind, or heart. There is strength in learning to step back. It does not mean you are giving up. It means you are giving them the opportunity to grow without using you as a crutch. It means you trust them to face life without leaning on your sacrifices. Then it becomes consistent sacrifices. It becomes your identity. As long as they're okay, I'm okay. But that is not love. That is losing yourself. You deserve relationships where your needs matter. Connections where you are not the only one trying. People who meet you where you are instead of pulling you away from yourself. The wrong people fall away when you honor your worth because your growth exposes the places where they were only benefiting from your silence, your softness, or your willingness to settle. When you begin to see yourself clearly, stop apologizing for your strength and refuse to shrink to make others comfortable, they leave, not because you changed too much, but because you stopped allowing their presence to exhaust you. There are people who like the version of you that never questioned anything. Excuses as explanations, silence as answers, and inconsistency as normal. Honoring your worth means raising your standards. Those unwilling to rise with you will naturally fall behind. They are intimidated by your clarity. Your honesty unsettles them. Your boundaries expose their lack of effort. And they drift away, not because you became difficult, but because you became aware. Some people stay attached to you only as long as you are struggling. They feel safe when you are small. They feel powerful when you rely on them. But when you honor your worth, you glow differently. You speak with more certainty, show more confidence. Stop clinging and start choosing. They cannot handle that you have stepped into a version of yourself that no longer depends on their approval. Honoring your worth feels lonely. It feels like a shedding, a quiet separation. But the loneliness is not emptiness. It is space clearing. It is life removing those who were blocking the blessings meant for you. You must understand something very deeply. You will never lose the right people by honoring your worth. Only the ones attached to your wounds will leave when you begin to heal. When you honor your worth, you see relationships with clearer eyes. You notice who makes you feel seen and who makes you feel small. You notice who encourages your growth and who becomes distant when you improve. You notice who claps for you quietly and who competes with you loudly. You notice the difference between people who truly care and people who only cared when you were easy to use. This reshapes your life. Not everyone deserves access to you, your energy, softness, time, or your loyalty. You begin to understand that love is not proven by how much you can endure. Friendship is not proven by how long you can tolerate disrespect. Loyalty is not proven by sticking with people who have no intention of treating you right. You stop confusing history with value, pity with compassion. Stop confusing attachment with love. Honoring your worth teaches you to walk away, not because you are cold, but because you are warm enough within yourself to stop settling for what does not nurture you. The wrong people fall away because your growth is a mirror they don't want to face. The right people are attracted to authenticity, not self-sacrifice. Real connection cannot grow where you are pretending, performing, or pouring yourself out to be accepted. When you try to earn love by giving more than you have, silencing your needs, or shaping yourself into what you think others want, you don't build closeness. You build exhaustion. You build resentment. You build a version of yourself that becomes impossible to sustain. Sooner or later, the people you attracted through self-sacrifice will expect you to continue abandoning yourself. That is not love. That is dependency masquerading as devotion. Authenticity is magnetic. It makes you stand out without trying. It draws in people who feel at home in your honesty, who admire your openness, who respect your boundaries, and who are inspired, not threatened, by your truth. When you show up as who you really are, you naturally filter out those who wanted a watered-down version of you. Only those who can love the fullness of your spirit remain. Many people learn self-sacrifice early in life, believing it is the price of being loved. You learn to give more than you receive, listen more than you speak, to bend until your spine aches. You think that if you can just be enough, kind enough, quiet enough, available enough, someone will choose you. But this love always comes with conditions, even when inconvenient. You express your needs, even when vulnerable. You say no, even when you fear disappointing someone. This honesty becomes a protective shield. It ensures only people capable of healthy relationships stay close. People who value emotional responsibility, who understand that love is mutual, not one-sided. Authenticity breaks this cycle. It teaches you to show up fully, to give, but not at the cost of your self-respect, to care, but not to the point of self-erasure. When you are authentic, you don't try to impress anyone. You don't perform softness to be liked, nor do you pretend strength to seem unbreakable. You allow yourself to be human, real, honest. That kind of person is unforgettable. The right people don't want your perfection. They want your truth, your real laugh, not the polite one. Your real thoughts, not rehearsed responses. Your real boundaries, not hidden resentment. They want your presence, not performance. And will meet you with the same honesty. They won't let you carry everything. They won't rely on your silence. They won't benefit from your brokenness. They will encourage you to rest, to speak, to heal, to take up space. Authenticity allows relationships to breathe. When you are real, you give others permission to be real too. You create connection built on mutual understanding, not unspoken expectations. You create trust not earned through suffering. And you create a space where love grows naturally instead of being forced through sacrifice. The right people will never require you to choose between your well-being and their comfort. They won't punish you for having needs when you express your boundaries. They won't make you feel guilty. Instead, they will admire your clarity. They will adjust with maturity. They will lean in when you express discomfort. These people are drawn to your authenticity because they have done the same work within themselves. When you practice self-sacrifice, you dim your lights, but the right people will never ask you to do that. They will celebrate your shine because it inspires their own. They will remind you of your value when you forget. They will hold space for your emotions without making them about themselves. They will support your growth instead of feeling threatened. You don't have to compete or compromise your identity. Authenticity is not always easy. It requires you to let go of the fear of rejection. It requires you to detach from people who liked you better when you were insecure. It requires you to face the discomfort of being seen exactly as you are. But nothing strengthens relationships more than this courage. Authenticity builds connections that last, connections that don't crumble when you stop pleasing everyone. When you choose authenticity over self-sacrifice, you will lose some people, but those people were lost long before they left. They were connected to your insecurity, not your essence. Letting them go is not a loss. It makes room for people who love you for your heart, people who stay not because you make their life easier, but because you make their life real. The right people will be drawn to you simply because you are yourself. They will love you with honesty, meet you with effort, and walk beside you without requiring you to dim, shrink, or disappear. Authenticity attracts souls aligned with your truth. Self-sacrifice attracts those aligned with your need to be needed. Choose truth, growth, choose yourself. That is when the right people find you, and love becomes something you naturally rise into. Your boundaries protect your peace and guide the right love toward you, because they act as both a shield and a filter. They shield you from people who take without giving, drain without replenishing, and expect loyalty without offering respect. They filter in people who understand the value of your well-being, see your worth without needing to be convinced, and are willing to honor the space you require to thrive, to pretend you're fine when your heart is tired, to stay quiet to avoid conflict. And slowly, without even noticing, you drift from yourself. Your peace leaks out through every moment you stayed longer than you should, every conversation you tolerated even though it hurt, every place where you gave more than you had. You stop confusing kindness with self-neglect. Boundaries teach you to treat yourself with the same love, respect, and gentleness you've offered others. In doing so, you shift your relationships. People can no longer take advantage of your silence. They can no longer assume your availability. They can no longer expect you to stay when something dishonors your heart. Some people will be upset when you set boundaries, not because you're doing something wrong, but because the boundaries expose how much they benefited from your lack of them. People used to the unlimited version of you may pull away when you begin limiting your time, your energy, and your emotional labor. Let them. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. The space they leave becomes room for people who respect your limits, appreciate your honesty, and value your peace. Boundaries teach you how to communicate with intention. Instead of saying yes out of fear or guilt, you say yes out of desire and clarity. Instead of absorbing someone else's emotions, you let them feel what is theirs. You stop rescuing people from their own choices. You stop watering relationships that no longer grow. You learn peace is not given by others. It is something you protect by saying, "This is where I end and you begin." As your boundaries strengthen, your heart softens. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about letting the right people in. The right people don't see your limits as a challenge. They see them as a map of how to love you, how to respect you, how to be in your life in a way that feels safe and healthy. Boundaries give guidance to love you the way you deserve. The right love, whether it comes as a partner, a friend, or a connection you never expected, will recognize your boundaries as a sign of emotional maturity. They won't make you feel guilty for protecting your heart, carrying someone who refuses to grow. Your boundaries clarify your emotional landscape. When you set them consistently, you notice who listens and who only hears what benefits them. You notice who adjusts with care and who reacts with defensiveness. You notice who shows respect even when you make decisions they don't agree with. These observations reveal the truth of your relationships. They help you see who is aligned with your growth and who is only aligned with your convenience. Boundaries reveal what love is real and what is conditional. The peace you protect through boundaries becomes a magnet for healthier connections. People who thrive on chaos naturally fade away. When your energy is no longer available, they stop reaching out. When your time is no longer free, it no longer attracts people who waste it. And what remains, what stays, are the individuals who see your worth and approach you with respect, consistency, and sincerity. Boundaries create space for love to be gentle, steady, and genuine. Without them, love becomes tangled with obligation and resentment. But with them, love becomes a choice. Each day, each moment, each conversation, you choose to give your energy to those who honor it. You choose to invest in relationships that pour back into you. You welcome people with respect and intention, not chaos and excuses. There is a peace when you stop living for everyone else. When you stop saying yes to keep the peace externally while destroying it internally. When you stop sacrificing your mental and emotional health to maintain connections that no longer sustain you. Boundaries free you from the need to be everything for everyone. They remind you that you are enough without overextending. They bring you back to yourself. The right love will be guided toward you when you honor your worth through strong, compassionate boundaries. The right love recognizes peace is precious. Honesty is sacred. Love cannot thrive where one person loses themselves to keep the relationship alive. Your boundaries are not the reason someone leaves. They are the reason the right person stays. They create the environment where love can grow safely, where respect can flourish naturally, and where your heart can finally breathe without fear. It has every intention to build you. So many people walk through life believing that love must hurt. Not because it's true, but because they were taught pain is the price of connection. They believe loyalty means staying where they are unappreciated, unheard, or unseen. They call their exhaustion commitment and their self-sacrifice care. But none of this is love. It nourishes it. It does not dim your spirit. It brightens it. The right love will challenge you to grow, not disappear. It will inspire you to rise, not crawl. You will not walk on eggshells or apologize for being human. You will not feel like you must constantly prove your worth. It doesn't have the strength to stand beside you. It confuses possession with partnership, attention with affection, and control with commitment. If you stay too long in those places, you begin to betray yourself. You shrink your voice to avoid arguments. You silence your intuition to keep the peace. It reveres it. It does not ask you to choose between loving them and loving yourself. It understands that the foundation of every healthy connection begins with self-respect. The right person will celebrate your boundaries because they understand your expectations are invitations to love you more clearly, more gently, more sincerely. Suffering is a signal, your inner voice saying, "This is not where your heart is meant to stay." Pain is proof of misalignment. Love becomes heavy when it no longer fits who you are becoming. If you are growing while the relationship is not, you will feel the weight of carrying something that should have been shared. You are allowed to be human and still be loved. Sometimes life requires you to let go of a love you wanted so deeply, not because it was entirely wrong, but because it asked you to suffer. That is not love. That is attachment. That is fear. You outgrew the moment you chose yourself. Walking away is wisdom. It is the moment you decide peace matters more than proximity, dignity more than attention, and self-respect more than temporary affection. The love meant for you will never demand you betray yourself. It will never thrive on your silence. And those drawn to your strength find their way to you. Choosing yourself is not selfishness. It is clarity. It is recognition that your energy is sacred and your presence valuable. It is the moment you stop begging for the bare minimum and start requiring what is aligned with your soul. People drawn to your insecurity cannot survive your confidence. People who fed on your doubt cannot handle your courage. People who relied on your lack of boundaries cannot stay when you set them. Choosing yourself forces the world to treat you differently because you treat yourself differently. It means understanding your heart deserves to be met, not managed. It means you no longer participate in relationships that require your suffering. There is a deep power in choosing yourself. You begin to heal, glow differently, attract differently, because when you stop acting out of scarcity, the fear that you will lose people if you stand up for yourself, you start attracting from abundance. Losing people is not the worst thing. Losing yourself is. Anyone who leaves because you honored your worth was never meant to stay. Choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, respect over tolerance, alignment over attachment. Life begins to rearrange itself around your new standards. You attract people who speak your language, who cherish your heart, who recognize your worth before you even have to explain it. You attract opportunities that match your growth, connections that feel like support, not survival, love that feels like home, not struggle. In the end, that is the deepest truth. Choosing yourself is not an ending, it is a beginning. A life where you are no longer begging for space in places that cannot contain you. A journey where your value is acknowledged, your presence appreciated, and your love reciprocated. Relationships that feel safe, real, honest, and nourishing. When you choose yourself, the right people always come. Not because you chased them, not because you performed for them, not because you sacrificed for them, but because you finally made room for them. Choosing yourself is the most powerful invitation you can send out into the world, an invitation that says, I know my worth, I honor my heart, I protect my peace. If you come into my life, come with value, come with sincerity, come with truth. And the ones who can meet you at that level, stay. Give your love to yourself first. You deserve to meet yourself whole. When you rise in your own light, the right ones will feel it, recognize it, and move towards you with open hands and honest hearts. The love meant for you will find you. Once found,